The question now is which one of these four methods was best for the image that we're working on, for this background image of isolating just the yellow flowers. We want to see which one was best on white. So we're going to start with white, the eyeball on there, and we're going to look at the magnetic lasso. But then we want to turn that off and look at the quick selection. And then we want to turn that off and look at the magic wand. It's kind of hard to remember what the previous state looked like. So there's got to be a better way, and there is. Again, you can't keep these all turned on because the stacking of them may improve because they are actually, if there's any degree of transparency like there was with the color range with this one, when that's alone, that's how it looks. But when we turn on these other layers under it, they're starting to beef up the color. So it's not an accurate, you can't just simply click on these and assume you're getting the best view. So we have to take them one by one. So we're going to start with the magnetic lasso on the white layer, and we're going to use something called layer comps. Excuse me, layer comps. So under window, we're going to turn on that panel. Layer comps, and we're going to get a pop-up window right here. Just gonna move it over a smidge. And the thing that this does, when we make a layer comp, it remembers three different things. It remembers the visibility, the position, and the appearance of what you are recording at that time. The appearance would be styles. So if there was a drop shadow on this layer but not on other ones, it would remember the drop shadow. It remembers what layers are turned on or off, the visibility, and where they're positioned. So if we moved this around and took another layer comp, it would remember the positioning. So sometimes if you're working on maybe like an ad mock-up or something like that, and you have the logo down here, and then you think, oh, I wonder, maybe I'll put the logo here, and then to balance it, I have to move something over here, and I kind of like that. So I want to show the client that also. You don't need to keep saving the file over with different names like add version 1, add version 2, add version 3. You can take layer comps, which are basically snapshots of how it looks in that different visibility. What's turned on, what isn't, where is it positioned, and does it have any appearance like drop shadows. So we want to do this with the magnetic lasso turned on. We're going to come up to our layer comps and we're going to click on the plus button. And that is going to make a new layer comp. What we want to know is what the name of it is, and this one is the magnetic lasso. That's the only one that we're seeing. The visibility is what we want to see. We're not repositioning them, so we don't care. We don't have any layer styles. We don't have any smart objects. If all of these were checked, it wouldn't hurt anything, but all that we really have to be aware of is what layer is on, the visibility. So we're going to say okay to that. That made a comp right here. Now we're going to turn off the magnetic lasso and turn on the quick selection. And we're going to come up to the layer comps and click on the plus again. And this one is going to be called the quick selection tool. Okay. And we now have a layer comp for that. And you probably know what we're going to do. We're going to turn that off, turn on the magic wand. We're going to make a layer comp for the magic wand. Say okay. And then I'm going to drag this down to make this a little bit bigger. You can just pull on the bottom when you get the double arrows. And then I'm going to turn off the magic wand, turn on the color range, take another layer comp picture, snapshot if you will, call this one color range. And now I have snapshots or layer comps of all three of these. So now it's just a matter of which one do we think is best. So to toggle our view, this is color range. It's the one that's turned on. Here's magic wand. It automatically turned that one off. I can just watch my selections and see what changes. Here's selection tool, quick. Here's magnetic lasso. So of these four, which is best? For me, it's a cross between magic wand and color range. The quick selection has too many fringe problems. The magnetic lasso has a lot of fringe pixels. Magic Wand is great, but I missed a few things here. And color range is great, but it has some transparency. So I'm just going to pretend, well, we're just going to pick the best one. So for me, it's the Magic Wand. That's the one that I truly do like the best. And because I like that one, I want to choose that most natural looking selection, and I'm going to improve it. So Magic Wand is the one that we like. We don't need the layer comps anymore. We can actually turn them off. And we know that Magic Wand, in our case, won the contest. So I come down here and I have the Magic Wand layer selected, and I want to duplicate this layer. So there's lots of ways of doing that, but Command J is an option, or you can go up to the Layers panel flyout and choose the little menu right here and choose Duplicate Layer. Or like I said, Command J is a duplicate. So that made a copy of it, and we're going to rename that one, and we're going to call this the Modified Selection. So we're going to take the best one and make it even better. I'm going to turn off the Magic Wand, and we're going to only be working with this one layer called the Modified Selection. So if I zoom in, I can see that I do have a few problems, these fringe pixels along the edge that are a little bit darker. So one of the easiest ways to fix this is to kind of contract our selection a little bit and get rid of these edge pixels. All right. We're going to hold down the Command key and we're going to click on the thumbnail of this modified selection to literally reselect it to get the marching ants around it again. So anytime you Command click on this thumbnail, you're going to get your marching ants back. So I zoomed out a little, but I'm going to zoom back in a bit. So that's our marching ants. Now what we want to do is go up to the Select menu and choose Modify, Contract. That means squeeze in. It says how much? 1 pixel, 2 pixel, 3 pixels? I don't know, let's try 3. And say, okay. We should see, oh yeah, that shifted a lot, maybe too much. Because what we're going to do is get rid of everything on the outside of these, of the selection. I'm going to undo that, Command Z, it's a bit much, and I'm going to do Select, Modify, because I'm zoomed in, I can really tell how dramatic this is. I'll say 2 pixels. That's better. If you're zoomed out a ways, you won't notice this as much. So we now have our marching ants on the inside of this, and we're happy with that. When we delete or get rid of these pixels out here, we don't want it to be a hard edge with all these jagged things. We want it to be a softer, feathered edge. So we're going to do Select, Modify, Feather. And then we're going to say how many feathers do we want to pixel this by? 1 or 2, because we've cut in 2 pixels. I'm probably just going to leave it at 1 and say, okay. Now we really can't tell that anything's happened yet. But what we want to do is we now want to select not the yellow flowers, but the outside of them. So we're going to do that inverse selection. So Select, Inverse, or Shift Command I. That puts our marching ants around the edge and the yellow flowers, which means we've selected all of the white and actually this part inside. And from here, it's pretty easy. We hit delete on our keyboard. And that deleted everything in this selection, which basically targeted those fringe pixels, and we told it to feather, so it made it a soft edge. If we go back to 100% size and turn off our marching ants, there's our selection, and it looks, there's no more fringe pixels and there's not a harsh edge. It looks nice and smooth. So lots of ways of selecting objects, and sometimes using a combination of tools is your best bet. You use the one that's the quickest to start, and then maybe more precision tools after that. So we wrapped up with the chapter. I'll talk about your homework next.